when I would do it. I just said I would.
I know exactly. And you used her favorite serving spoon to do it.
I mean, did you set a criterion? Did you set a timeline for them?
Exactly.
Actually,
So
we did. Sorry.
I did set a criteria a week before, and I did miss the timeline. Um, how many people sent one in? Carlton told me that he sent.
Oh, it
Billy,
was
We had
good too.
6.
His
We
was
you know what?
good.
Yeah,
Carlton's was
Carmen's
good.
was good. We had
I knew
6.
his would be good. That's good. That's better than none, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
There we go.
So did he enjoy the event? Did he
Oh
enjoy the
yeah,
videos?
definitely. Yes. He texted me earlier today. He said, "Send me that video." I was like, "All right, I'll send it to you." It's like 756 megs big, and they had to take 3 hours to download to my Google Drive, but I eventually got
Good. Right. That's funny.
it. Yes, he enjoyed it tremendously.
I did too.
So Dennis,
That was the main thing.
how was Mexico?
It's good. It's always good.
Did you go to Old Mexico or New Mexico?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went to Juarez on Friday and then New Mexico on Saturday. Well, we actually stayed in New Mexico, but we went down into Juarez on Friday and then back up to New Mexico on Saturday.
And what was the occasion again?
The binational conference, the Confederation of Grand Lodges for all the Grand Masters of Mexico, and then the binational conference, which also includes mainly the border states, but we also had a brother from Minnesota there as well. But
Wow.
we had California, Arizona, us, and then New Mexico represented, and then yeah, and all the border states were there.
How was it compared to last year?
It's good, just as good. I don't know the after party wasn't quite as much, but it wasn't it wasn't the brothers from Mexico that were putting it on either. It was the guys from the U.S. putting it on. So they're not quite as exciting as the brothers from Mexico. But next
It'll be
year
the last time
it
they're
will
allowed to do
be right.
it.
Last time we let New Mexico do it.
Yeah.
But no, it was still good. And next year it's going to be in Sonora, Mexico.
Hmm.
So that's going to be good. That's going to be fun. That's on the Pacific coast of Mexico.
Nice, man. Sounds
And
fun.
I was talking to the Grandmaster, and he told me, yeah, just fly into Arizona, and then I'll send a car up to pick you up. I said, yep, that'll work. See you then.
That's how they roll.
That's how they roll, man.
I love it.
They always take care of me.
I love it, man. Well, I'm glad you had a fun and safe trip. Where are you at now? Are you on the way home?
Yes, I am. I have just left the Kerrville area, and I am still headed down through the hill country. Haven't made it to San Antonio. Still got about 40 miles to get to San Antonio. Yes.
Got you. Okay.
Or in Texas, a 2.5 hour trip.
There you go.
But I've got in 2 weeks I want to get Carlton Newberry on, and we're going to talk about fellowship, and we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of going to events like we went to this past weekend, and because he was up there with me, and then we'll talk about his hospitality suite. It's going to be at Grand Lodge and all that kind of good stuff if you want to. If that's all right with you. I was talking to him about it the other day, and just figured he'd be a good person to have on the show.
You set him up, and I'll send out the invite.
Yeah, I need to text Greg right now. I wanted to get Gregorio right on Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm gonna text him right now. I meant to text him earlier, and we'll have him on and talk to him a little bit. And then I've got the Grand Junior Warden for California is going to come on the show with us. Talk to him about that this weekend too.
Interesting. Okay.
Cool.
And I know you wanted a few other people we had talked about. I don't know if you want to announce them or not, but yeah, let's just book them and have those conversations.
Yeah, Park is coming on for sure again. I can't remember the date that we had set up. He told me the other day, and
for some reason the 9th stuck in my head. I thought you told me the 9th. Is it even a Wednesday?
It may be a December 9th, maybe, but I think it was I think it was a different.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Right. I need to look at the schedule.
Cool.
But yeah, I figured he'd be fun to have on there, and I was speaking with a representative from Grand Paraguay down in Central America, and we can get him on the show as well. He's also a member of the UGLE.
Nice.
He's originally from England, I think, and lives down there now. So we could get him on as well. All I got to do is text him and he'll come on as well.
Love it, man. That sounds great.
Yeah, man. I always enjoy going to things like this because there's always great connections with brothers that you meet online or whatever, and then you meet in person, and it just works out.
Mm-hmm.
So and he and I talked for a long time about the differences in Texas ritual and their ritual. It's very interesting. He has a lot of interesting stuff to say. Oh, and brother from Grand Junior Deacon from Arizona is gonna come on the show.
Let's do it, man. I love hearing that.
I forgot to tell you.
I love it.
So, yeah, we got quite a bit lined up now.
You did your thing.
I did my thing.
Made your
I
connection.
do what I do.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
But I was thinking though, in the lines of with Carlson with fellowship, we're getting to that point. We're fixing to do the resolutions. I may have him come back on the show with us while we're doing the resolutions. I'd like to do this one on fellowship just as a segment for fellowship. But
well, Carlton's always an enjoyable conversation. So I mean,
yeah,
I always like visiting with him.
Always. So yeah. So but he's got 2 resolutions coming out. So I'd like to hear his take on both of them personally. But at the same time, he could be a great person to have on the show while we do our resolution show and hear what he thinks about other ones as well.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartely. It's that time of year to start having those conversations.
Yeah, so I was thinking with that, and then the fellowship, and then we've got the forum recorded. We'll have this thing that we can create as a trip to Grand series that we can do, so that people can just listen one after the other on the way to Grand Lodge and hear the forum, hear the hear the talk on the resolutions, hear a little bit about the fellowship and stuff that happens during Grand Lodge, and
that's a good
all that
idea.
kind of good stuff. We can have the road to Grand Lodge.
I like that
series.
I like that. Yeah, we already got the candidate form, so we can add to it, put it in its own little playlist. Yeah, I love that, dude. That's a great idea. Very good.
But anyway, yeah, I've been putting a little bit of thought to it this weekend.
Is it just you on the road?
No, the girls are in the back. They're Sarah's doing her Duolingo on the computer, and Lavinia's on her phone looking at stuff. I don't know what she's doing.
Got you. I was just wondering because usually when I'm on the road by myself, it's when I do my best thinking. So I just figured maybe you just rode by yourself. Otherwise, it's not usually quiet enough for me to think. The kids and all that stuff.
Right. No, I'm just always thinking. So I can't stop.
Got you. Cool.
But no, I thought about that when I was talking to Carlton about the fellowship show. And then I told him, yeah, that'd be great to throw in with resolutions. He said, yeah, I got 2 of those resolutions. I said, well, you know what? They have you on that show too.
Man.
He said, okay, I'll come on.
You guys working overtime.
Yeah. Always working.
Yeah. Love it, dude. That's awesome. So you probably haven't been on Facebook a whole lot over the weekend, have you then?
I have not. In fact, I was kind of feeling guilty about it. I hadn't even looked at it, and I should have been posting what I was doing this week, but I didn't.
Did you take lots of pictures?
Do what?
Did you take lots of pictures?
Yes, I did. I took a lot of pictures.
That's good. Well, as long as you post them, it counts at some point.
Right. So what's the big thing on Facebook this weekend?
The biggest thing this weekend really has been less than 24 hours, but a brother posted on Texas Freemasons, a Masonic lodge is not a service club. It's pretty lengthy, so I'm not going to read it. I mean, it's like really long. It's exerted, but it was from an address that was delivered in 1950.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What'd you say? Are you there?
I said go for it.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. It's real long. Anyone that wants to read it can find it. But it's not new. Okay. It's an excerpt from a presentation from 1950, saying that we weren't saying then at that time that we weren't a service club. So you can only imagine how much further along things have come since then. But some pretty interesting conversations in the comments, and I'm kind of surprised by some people, but I was kind of thinking maybe we could have some conversation about that here, because
let's do it.
There's the image, and it has the square and compass, but you also have Kiwanis, whatever. You always say I pronounce it wrong.
Kiwanis.
Those elks, who Jason's not here unfortunately. Rotary and lions, and I'll share what I said, and we can just kind of segue. I think Brad might have said something, if Brad's still here. But it said, I said, I used to be a member of the Lions and Rotary. They're excellent organizations, however, they don't provide the same value as Freemasonry. Neither the Lions nor Rotary confer degrees or require rituals to open and close their meetings. If Freemasonry were a service organization, then why would we require anything like that at all? I'm aware that some service organizations used to confer degrees. This is talking about Woodsmen of the World, right? They used to have lodges, and they would actually confer degrees and things like that. That's the one I know of. I think Jason said the Elks used to do degrees too, but they don't now. And in many cases, they dropped the rituals when they decided to shift gears and take the service organization route, or just sell insurance.
Well, hell, even the Shriners don't. Really, they just.
The hot sands, all that stuff. The same thing with Grotto. I was really lucky to experience the degrees for Grotto, because that's not something that's typically done anymore. But I also went on to say, should Masons be of service to their family and community? Absolutely. However, that's not the focus of our organization. Should Masons be charitable? And this was kind of because some other people started talking about charity. I was kind of, should Masons be charitable? As individuals, absolutely. However, that's not the purpose of our organization. As a side note, raising money from other people in the community and then turning around and giving that money away in your name isn't charity. As long as we were pointing out things, it's also not the responsibility of the community to fund your hobby or keep your building maintained.
I think you just wrapped up everything I believe.
Yeah, those are some pretty good sound points.
Well, I appreciate that. There was it was a brother, I won't name him. He did have a comment. I agree that we're not to be called a charitable organization, but we are called to be charitable individuals. I've never seen someone put into words raising money from other people in the community and then turning around and giving that money away in your name as a charity, but I wholeheartedly agree. Where I struggle and I understand where he's coming from, but I don't agree with his premise. Where I struggle with is the sentiment that the community shouldn't be asked to fund our hobby or maintain our building. I generally agree with that position, but I can't implement that at my lodge. Our dues are higher than many lodges at $175. Our endowments are nearly 20 times our dues. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. But our annual dues income and endowment return isn't enough to cover the bills. We have way too many members that endowed at $500 that no longer pay dues, which is their right. And I agree with that. That is their right. I mean, that's what they were sold on. That we'd have to raise our dues to over $400 a year. I did the research on our dues by going through old minutes, and we've actually outpaced inflation. When we do a fundraiser, we're not asking for money for nothing. We offer something in exchange. I'm not sure what the offer is really, but so he can philosophically allow for that. Not a big raffle guy, so that's not my thing. But when a lodge does a fish fry, barbecue dinner, golf tournament, or something that is of value, I can't totally bash that.
Well, that's they're offering something for exchange. So I'm just not a fan of that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, my lodges do it. Most Texas lodges do it.
Yeah.
But I do not agree with it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not going to sell tickets for anybody anymore. I used to do it, and I'm not going to say anything about anybody who does, but I'm personally not going to do it anymore because I'm just not going to. I'm not going to launder money. I'm not going to do it. I said it.
I did the math because I was thinking I was coming up with a response because I respect the guy, but I don't agree with him on this. But at $175, you're paying $14.60 a month, and to say that you can't charge more than that, and he threw out the number 400, and it just so happens one of my lodges I was a member of came to that number. That's what they were going to have to charge to keep the doors open.
And there are lodges that charge more than that.
It's only $33 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to a lodge and you eat, you can't go anywhere and eat by yourself. I'm trying to think of the last time I paid less than $20 just to go get something for myself. Right. That's even like a cheap place is like $15. But you're going to a lodge, and sure, you could go eat somewhere cheaper, but you're also helping support your lodge and you're getting a meal, which I don't think. I think you should still throw money into the kitty, but I'm just saying $33. If you're not getting $33 a month of value out of the fraternity, the lodge has failed you, or you're failing yourself because you're not putting the work in.
I tend to agree, and we all decide on what to afford in Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
It's that old adage: want to know where someone's heart is, follow their check.
Yeah.
And you'll know whatever they're spending money on, that's where their interests lie. And you will not see me at gentlemen's clubs or anything like that. You'll never see anything like that on my tab. You will see a lot of money going to different lodges and different dependent bodies of Masonic nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And frankly, I would rather, do away with some of my memberships and channel that money towards the lodges that I want to support now. If I could do away with the endowments that I had.
I actually had a similar conversation earlier this week because I got a text message from the president of the local Lions Club, saying time to pay my dues. And so I was like, hey man, I'll pay the dues, but take me off your roster. Like I need to admit, or whatever you call it, because they're a lunchtime club, and I'm an educator, and I've told them before, like they're worrying about their members, their numbers, and I was like, you meet at lunchtime, you don't offer a meal, and so if I go, I'm going to sacrifice a meal if I have a job. Like if I'm leaving work to go to lunch for the Lions Club, I'm sacrificing my lunch basically. Or if you're a young guy that actually, or young person that's working, and you can't commute to town to have lunch, and it's silly to have an organization that's worried about membership that doesn't meet at a time that's better for more members to come. And so
it's interesting that you say that, because I sent an email out to one of the organizations that I'm a member of recently, and I wasn't able to make the meeting, and I said, look, if you want to stop growing as an organization and be what you've been for the last 10 years, which is depleting, then just keep on doing what you want to do. Just keep on doing, just keep meeting at the early times that you're meeting, when the only people that can get there are retirees and the people that work 2 minutes away from where you're meeting. If you want to grow, then you need to make decisions that reflect. And I just left it at that.
Yeah.
Because we were in the middle of writing the bylaws, and there were all these people saying, well, let's do this on this time and this date. And it's like, dude, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
You want me to be a member, and yet you don't want to make it possible for me to come. One of the biggest contributors of the organization.
They want your money. They don't. I assume.
Well, they want me to come and do things on their terms. They want my knowledge as well, but only on their terms.
Yeah. No, I suggested that.
Yeah, go ahead.
They had like an emergency meeting, I guess you could say, like a year or two ago, about this very thing, because no one was showing up to the meetings or anything. And that's what I told them. I was like, you're meeting at lunch and there's no food, and you're really limiting who could show up by lunch. I think it needs to be an evening thing. And one of the longtime members, she was sitting there, and she's like, well, that would never work. Couldn't like say why it would never work or anything like that, but just basically that's not how we've always done it, kind of thing. It's like, well, I've heard this before in other organizations. That's the thing about organizations. When you're really involved in one, you can still see trends. You can see patterns in other organizations. Like, I know where this is going. This is not a healthy. And really, so my thing is, like, I'm not getting value out of it, and it's not expensive, but I could cover another lodge or another organization with that. So, and I'd get more value out of that, honestly, because I know they'd meet at a time I could attend if I picked the right one. And so that's just kind of my thing. It's like Lions that I get no value from, and I can't make the meetings, or go take my money somewhere else. So it's their loss. I am their demographic. I'm a young local that is very involved in the community. I'm the demographic they want. And if they don't want to meet at a time that demographic can attend the meetings, but they still want my money, well, then I just will not do either one. I'll just admit.
Well, and that's why I left the Planning and Zoning Commission in Goliad, because we but we had served our purpose anyways.
Mm-hmm.
We created a zoning map and did all the footwork for all of our zoning regulations and all that kind of good stuff, and created the zoning map for the council and all that. So we had done our job, and then members wanted to meet earlier in the evening, like at 5 o'clock. It's like, dude, all you want is a bunch of retirees to join this group, just like all the same retirees have joined every other group within our town.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically want the same group of old people running the town that have run it forever and kept it small forever and made it impossible for new people to come in with new business and whatnot. Okay, that's what you want. That's fine. I'm not going to be a part of it. I am the demographic of who you want in your political system, and yet who we need in the political system.
Yeah. And
yet you want something completely different.
We should probably be careful about what we're saying. There are some powers that might want to that might try to move Grand Lodge to like Monday at lunch. keep all those young guys from showing up and voting.
Right. That's funny.
But isn't that what you do if you're retired and you have all the time in the world and you don't want ideas that you don't like to infiltrate your community or anything like that? You set your meeting times too early for people that are still working and have kids and things like that to attend.
Oh yeah. Well, and what's interesting is, we have the new technology for Zoom and all that kind of stuff, and yet you still have lodges that want to have everybody get together at the lodge for committee meetings and stuff like that. You have people that are members of committees that think that they have to show up to lodge to have that meeting, and it's like, dude, use Zoom.
Yeah.
Talk to all your people. Don't make it a pain in the butt for people. And then like Grand Lodge trustees meeting, it's done on Friday afternoon, which is fine. Well, really Friday midday, which is fine for a lot of people that are willing to take off on a Friday to go up there and do it. I've done that. But why not just do a Zoom for all the stuff that everybody can see?
Yeah.
Because you go into executive meeting anyways for what can't be seen. So why not just go ahead and throw it on Zoom for all of the Texas Masons?
That's a great question.
I think we should start doing that from through Grandview. We can utilize Grandview now that California, the California Grand Lodge, they're one of the ones who went in on purchasing Grandview, and that's something that we can do in the future through Grandview. And I know that they will help implement that.
Yeah. It's just
ask me how I know.
Just makes sense.
Oh, but be careful. We can't have a whole lot of this too much making sense nonsense here. It's just no. That's not the way we've done it all these years. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. But
Grandma's ham.
Yeah. Don't be messing with Grandma's ham.
There you go.
But yeah, it was great being able to have a conversation with the Grand Lodge officer from California who just purchased Grandview. That was awesome being able to have that conversation and talk about things like that.
Yeah. When you say purchase Grandview, you mean they are implementing it in their jurisdiction, or they like actually purchased the program itself?
They purchased the company.
Wow.
So there's
the Grand Lodge.
There's 3 Grand Lodges that got together and purchased the company Grandview.
Wow.
Grandview had originally Grandview had Mark, what's his last name? Anyways, he has a brother that created Grandview for lodges, and they had some other board investors that owned Grandview, and he wanted to make, more changes within Grandview. He wanted to update things and upgrade things and make some new improvements to it. But the board didn't want to do that. They didn't want to spend any more money on it. And so he basically had the board bought out by 3 Grand Lodges, one of them being Pennsylvania, one of them being California, and I can't remember the third one. The sad thing is Texas could have purchased Grandview.
Mm-hmm.
Texas was approached, and Texas turned it down under the leadership of one Grandmaster that we shall not name.
He who should.
But it makes me want to throw up just thinking.
Yeah, I think that really stresses the
you
point.
should know who it is.
Yeah.
Okay, but I got to ask, what would the advantage have been to Texas in owning Grandview?
Well, Grandview charges $1 per member for Grandview. So we already pay $54,000 a year to Grandview. We could have developed it with the IT people that we have in our pocket, in our membership. We could have completely built it out to be anything we wanted it to be, for data collection, for lodges, and for Grand Lodges, and for and just as a service tool to anyone. But granted, they are doing that with California and Pennsylvania now. But Grandview is not a worldwide thing yet either. So Grandview is about 80% of all of the U.S. uses Grandview at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But they're expanding to where they made it in Spanish now. They're about 70% done making it in Spanish, so that all the Latin America lodges can take part in it as well. There's long-term residual income. I mean, it's just like an app. You have an app, and you can, once you get it to a certain point, you really don't have to do anything with it, but just let it ride and collect money. That's all you do, because the technology's already done, and you just pay for the domain and the servers, and once that's paid for, you're just collecting money. So it's passive income, long-term passive income is what the benefit of owning something like that.
I'm not going to say this is a generational thing, because I don't believe it is a generational thing. However, we're at the point where if someone is running for a statewide office that does not see the value in technology and looking ahead and incorporating technology and finding ways that you can use it to streamline things, then you do not need to be in a state office.
Well, that's just like somebody saying that they're going to be the first one to arrive and the last one to go home every day. That is a complete waste of time. Any executive in any major corporation knows that that's an absolute waste of your time, is to be that guy.
Yeah. That's
who you want as a first line manager, not the guy who runs the show, not a guy at a director's position.
Should there be an employee that does that? Yeah, of course. But
yeah, it's called the office manager.
Yeah. I mean, can I call Walmart and ask to talk to the president anytime I want to, or the vice president,
right,
or anything like that? No. I've said this before, and I'll say this: when you have someone take a position like treasurer or secretary at your
Brother Weber, by the way, I wasn't trying to be harsh in the way I was saying that.
No. I didn't.
The passive income. That's the benefit. Passive income.
Okay, and that answered my question, and I see the value in that, certainly.
Yeah.
I did not construe your response to my question in any way to be harsh or derogatory or whatever.
That's very forgiving of you.
Okay, thank
I
you.
was thinking,
I'm
what
glad
a jerk! I can't believe Dennis is saying.
I know, man. It's the San Antonio traffic. It just makes me a.
But anyway, like I was saying, if you there's certain offices in a lodge, you don't want that to be a 1 year thing, and you really can't expect them to just blow it out of the park the first year. It takes time to learn, even if unless you've done it before and you have an extensive background in like being a treasurer or a secretary. It's you can go to schools and stuff to learn how to do it, but really it's time in service that really makes you better at that job. And so that applies also to higher levels. You can't expect someone to just knock it out of the park the first year. Like it takes time to learn how to do everything. So
and not only that, but in the bigger scheme of things, most things that you start working on today, you're not going to realize them until 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about knocking it out of the park either. It's what he's working on today. It's not going to. I mean, we're going to see some pretty damn immediate effects on a lot of things that are happening right now.
Yeah.
But the big picture is not even going to happen until 2 years later when somebody else is running for that position again, and then they're going to, think that they're going to be able to claim the fame for all the work that he's put in.
Got you. Yeah.
We're talking about the same thing, and I know we are, and I know that's why I said that, because this is big picture stuff. What he starts today, and that's the same with any corporation, what they're working on today is going to actually show results in five years, sometimes even 10 years. It won't be anywhere close to today. So, yeah, it's not even a matter of knocking it out of the park this week. It's a matter of
knocking it out of the park is probably not a good analogy, because I don't think the person in question is. I think person in question is doing a fantastic job. But I guess a better way of putting it, I guess really where I want to go with this is certain positions like treasurer and secretary. If you move it around a lot, you have
it generates confusion.
Well, yeah, it creates confusion because these are unique positions.
Yes.
And say I'm going to be specific, but this is like the most obvious to me. So like you have a secretary, and they've been doing secretary for like 10 years. And then someone new jumps in. Say like that secretary passes away unexpectedly, and someone new jumps in. Where is everything? Where does this go? What's the login?
Oh, tell me.
And so it's imagine that at if you boom like changing like 2 or 3 years or 4 years in a row at a statewide level, and it's just going to be a huge mess. It's silly.
Yeah. It's ridiculous for anyone to think that. Yeah.
Well, and frankly, I'd like to take it maybe a step further. Maybe it's a step back. Maybe it's the wrong direction entirely. But I think that the same thing applies, though, when you're talking about, worshipful masters and even the Grand Master. I can see that there could be very real value in having a multi-year term for both of those offices. It gives you the opportunity to initiate and see a program through. And that has a whole lot of value in my mind.
It's been
in most of the Grand Lodges in Mexico, it's 3 years.
It's what?
3 years for Grand Master.
There's one of the lodges in the district, one of my districts, and good friends with the guys there. And a few years ago, we had a conversation because they didn't really have anybody in their line, so to speak. And so the senior warden at the time was like, yeah, if I go to the East next year, that's fine, but there's not really anyone to follow. And I was like, dude, why are you insisting on doing like this progressive line concept if you don't even have anyone to follow you right now? And he's like, what are you talking about? It's like, there's no rule that says you can't do that. They can't elect you to serve more than 1 year. Granted, you have to have an election, but there's no rule that says you can't be reelected to serve again. What I'm saying is just slow down the whole process and give that line time to build up with new members, and then you can start slowly working people through if they're showing dedication and willing to put the work in. And so this is this guy's second year, and he commented to me. He's like, "Man, it's so much easier to get things done." He's like, "You're absolutely right. It takes a whole year just to learn how to do Worshipful Master. And by the time you figure it out, your year's over." And so doing multiple years, 2 years, maybe 3 years, is demonstrably beneficial from a leadership perspective and a lodge prosperity perspective.
Yeah, what's interesting is that in my conversations this weekend, one of them was with that brother in Fairway. I'm pretty certain it was him, but he said, this line thing that y'all talk about, it's completely foreign to me to even think about something like that. Every position is elected, and every position can be contested, and to even think that you're going to move forward just because is something that Americans just take for granted. I don't know why they do that, but every other Grand Lodge that I visit, everyone knows that every year it could be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that we always call it the line, and they don't like that because it is always an election. However, they do have the longer term periods for their elections, but they
wait, so they don't even do elections for every 3 years?
Right. So they don't. Yeah. So it's not even. There's no pressure to move up people in a line.
I think that'd be.
There's no guarantee of a line. That's the thought behind it. There's no guarantee of a line, so there's no pressure to move anybody up. So they elect somebody. They're in for 3 years, and then you decide if you're going to reelect them or not.
So that would be interesting to see, because as it is right now, the Grand Lodge law, it states, as an example, it states that a lodge has to meet at least 4 times a year, quarterly, right? Most lodges meet more than that, but they don't have to. It'd be interesting to see something in the law book that says election officers must occur at least every 3 years. And that way lodges could have an opportunity. Granted, there's no reason you can't just have an unspoken agreement or just a mutual understanding, hey, if you get elected, this is 3 years. But what if you could actually put in your bylaws, like, look, we only do elections every 3 years or every 2 years or whatever that is.
Yeah, make this count because you got this person for 3 years.
And I think I think you bring up something.
Make the right decision.
Because right now we just we don't have anyone to really put in this position, so just put what's his face in there. Why? Because it's only a year. Who cares? But if it was 3 years, then we'd have to really consider who is the best person to appoint to this position. Who's the best person to elect to this position? You probably don't want this guy to be senior warden because he's probably going to move off. This guy's probably going to go to college and move off. Let's be sure that we're picking the best people for the long term for these next 3 years.
And it also makes sense for the senior warden, for the junior warden too, to spend that extra time in those various chairs and not only learn their jobs, but if you want to keep the line in place and still have that, progressive movement that we have seen and is typical in Texas, 3 years in the South, you're not only going to know how to do your job, you're going to know how to do your job well.
You should.
And
you should.
You're going to spend enough time in that lodge room, in that chair, to learn the senior warden's job and be able to work with that individual and, put together an honest to God plan for your time when you move into the East.
I think when
The continuity would be much better,
I agree.
I think.
I think whenever you have something that is common, it loses value. For example, there was a time when a high school diploma was all you really needed to be successful at most jobs. But high school diplomas are so common now, you almost have to have a bachelor's or a master's to really move forward in a lot of things. And where I'm going with this is when everybody's a past master, that title doesn't really have the same impact. Really, it should be the exception, not the norm. Right now, it's the opposite. The people who are not past masters are the exception. The norm is past master.
I know.
To have served
Well,
as,
and it also, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to have that title as past master should be the exception, not the norm.
Well, sometimes I feel like, and hey, this is kind of how a lot of the old guys feel too. To be honest with you, a lot of the guys that have been around a lot longer than me, I sometimes I think, well, yeah, you're a master mason, but have you walked a mile in my shoes? I don't think so.
Mm.
I don't, I don't think that you put the book time and the road time in that I put in. So I feel kind of like there's not as much value in just being called a master mason sometimes, because I've seen some of the product that Texas has put out, and I'm sure there's guys that feel that way about me, right? Like, I'm not the best representation of what they think masonry is, but I look at the product that's being put out with some of the lodges, and it's like, man, that guy did not go through what I went through. And even before my time, now with what I do, but even before, just thinking about what I went through with my mother lodge and what some people go through today, it's like, man, maybe I shouldn't travel and see what some of these people, how easy it is for some people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I should stay in my bubble.
No, that's something I still see a lot. There's this sense of urgency. I actually had this. I didn't engage with it because I didn't want to get angry. But I was at a lodge, and this isn't a lodge policy by any means. It never was formally adopted or anything like that. But this guy came and he brought his son with him, and I was like talking to him and everything. He's like, "Oh, okay, well." He's like, this is my son. I'm gonna have him petition here. I was like, oh, you're gonna have him petition? Okay, that's interesting. And I was like, so
yeah, I'm gonna have him petition. Yeah, that's
And I was like,
key words right there.
Are you gonna petition here? Or are you gonna do it in this other lodge you're a member of? That he's always bragging about this other lodge. So I thought he might want to do that. He's like, no, this is my mother lodge. I want him to petition here, but we're not gonna do that several month thing. We're just gonna get a petition, and he's like, we're not gonna wait. I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Lots of other people have, right? But I guess, but there's my point is there's this sense of urgency for all of this. There was another.
Well, and there's this sense of entitlement.
Yeah, that too. That's
just because. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because my grandfather wasn't around, when I became a Mason. I don't know. But I just don't feel like just because my son is a boy, that doesn't mean that he's going to be a Mason someday.
Yeah, I agree.
Just doesn't mean it. I'd love for him to. But, and both my boys are going to be excellent Masons if they decide to be someday. But that doesn't, they just don't automatically have the right.
And I'm a hypocrite because this is why I joined, but I can say that for this reason. Joining just because you have the family legacy is no reason to join. It's no reason to join. But I did that because my dad and my granddad are. But looking back, I was like, that was a terrible reason. Because Freemasonry is so much deeper and the value it offers is so much more. I don't even know the words. It's so much. It has so much more impact than just joining because it's like if someone wanted to join, and I'm not bashing anybody that does this, but joining because you want to fundraise or something like that. I mean, that's I don't think that's a good reason. I'll be honest. We talked about this, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but just bear with me. Once you start studying esoteric concepts, it becomes very, and we've said this before, I don't remember if you said it or I said it, Dennis, but it becomes very apparent that the people that sat down and came up with the degrees, at least in the Blue Lodge system, that came up with the degrees, especially if you go like the Scottish Rite, first 3 degrees, these people were very, very knowledgeable about esoteric concepts. They were not incorporated. They did not take the time to incorporate. And I'm not talking about like 1 or 2. I'm talking about like the full gamut. Everything esoteric, you can find it tying together somewhere in these degrees. This was not put together so that you could, to benefit people that wanted to join so they could fry fish, or that they wanted to join just because their dad was a Mason, or their granddad, or something like that. This was baked in because there's some really deep and potentially life-changing concepts that you could learn if you take time to put the study in to study it. So,
and you know what?
Go ahead. I was rambling. Sorry. Go ahead. I was just rambling anyway. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting is that I would say 90. 95, 99% of even those that are on this show with us right now, fall into the category of we didn't know what we were getting into.
Yeah.
Right? We joined for the wrong reasons, probably. To some extent, it was mysticism, but we didn't know the depth of mysticism that we were looking for. We had no idea.
Yeah.
But the scary thing is that the young men that are coming in, it's quite the opposite. So whereas 5% of those that joined during our era, our generation, our Masonic generation, 5% of ours came in for the right reasons. It's probably flipped at this time to where it's closer to 95% are joining for the right reasons now.
Yeah.
And we're just not ready for it. And that's a scary thing, is that, and are we, is the percentage that's not ready for it, are they willing to get ready for it? That's the scary thing.
Yeah.
I know that I have got so much to learn just so that I can be of value to that young man coming in the door. But I don't know that every Mason feels that way. And that scares me.
Well,
that scares me.
To your point, I think that we kind of with this service road, this not trying to tie it back, but just using it as a reference. I think we went this service organization route because this was a generation. And again, I'm saying generation, but I'm not playing a generation game. I'm just saying, in general, it was a time period when this came about that people were not so interested. It was an era when interest in esoteric concepts was really at a low. And so people joining because they were interested in these concepts but was really pretty low. But like you said, it's definitely coming full circle. We had a brother at one of my lodges, he watches the show sometimes, and he came up in the middle of a group, just like, hey, I saw that you were talking about tarot. And like really excited about it. It's like, okay, whoa. Let's pull away from these Bible Belt Masons and have this conversation, because let's just move and have it, because I want to have the conversation. But
you start the cold sweat starts.
Everyone just kind of looks. They start doing like the whole crucifix thing and everything. It was great because you can see he was excited, but also he was like, hey, whoa, we gotta we gotta move this conversation somewhere at the same
You would
time.
think somebody just carved a cross on your forehead. That's, that's
Yeah.
funny. That's so funny.
But it was definitely, first of all, I was surprised because I just never assumed that he was interested in this kind of thing. So I was very pleasantly surprised that he had an interest in it. But that's to your point. Like we're getting these guys that have these kind of interests. But also to your point also, I am I guess now that I'm my eyes are kind of being more and more opened to these esoteric concepts. I'm seeing people and having conversations with people that are interested in these type of things, yet they're not interested in Freemasonry. See what I'm saying? They're not connecting those dots. I was having a conversation with my friend, and one of my friends, and he introduced me to one of his buddies, and he started talking about Kabbalah, and I was like, oh, okay, that's real interesting. And our mutual friend, he's like, oh, you're interested in Kabbalah too? And I was like, dude, he has the Tree of Life tattooed on his arm. He's like, oh, I never noticed that. I didn't know that's what that was. So you have these guys that are young and interested in these esoteric concepts, and you can tell, like, once you study Kabbalah and you say, oh, that's the Tree of Life, he's got it tattooed on his arm, either he's an ignoramus and thought it looked cool, or he's interested in Kabbalah. But you have these guys, they're not saying, oh, well, let's go to Freemasonry, because that is a place where I can learn more about that kind of stuff. And
well,
honestly,
that's because,
frankly, it's good they don't, because they won't. They'll be very disappointed.
Well, that's because most of the time, when somebody asks a Mason, what do you do? The knee-jerk reaction is, oh, we raise money for kids. We do. They start trying to sell the product, right? Mm-hmm. They start trying to sell all the good things that Masonry does for everybody else, instead of it being, well, we study esoteric principles that help guide us into a more pure and focused life that we can feel good about when we die. Mm-hmm. And so instead of somebody saying, something as boring as that, they start naming off all the charities that we've helped, all the kids, and all the this and that.
Yeah.
They talk about the fish fries. They talk about the shrine circus, whatever. I mean,
the tangible things.
Yeah.
The things you can put your finger on.
Yes, exactly. All the activities you can put your finger on, and it's easy to wrap your head around. That's what they say we do. Yeah. But really, what we do is we pursue the inner workings of God and man to figure out our journey, and we're afraid to say that.
There's
well, no, we're not all that afraid of it, because we do say on a regular basis, we take good men and we make them better.
Right.
And
yes, we say that, but we won't say it. Yes, we won't say how.
But when pressed to explain how, that's when we were like, well, we fall back on the charities and the fundraising and that kind of thing, and the benefits or whatever. And I think that's something that we really need to get a good handle on, as far as how do we answer that question? What is exactly that you do? We encourage each other. We try to learn more about how we think, why we think the way we think, why do we believe the way we believe, and how does that make us better than we were yesterday? How do we apply those things into our lives?
I would very rarely give conspiracy theorists any credit, but as we're talking about this, it makes me think of a term they like to throw out. Porch Mason. You ever heard that term?
I have not.
I think it was coined by Pike, or according to the conspiracy theorist anyway. Dennis, have you heard that term before?
I've heard it, yes.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I haven't read very much Pike yet. I just haven't. And so apparently it was a term that they claim he coined, and it was referring to a Mason who hasn't really progressed very far. And
Correct.
and I can actually, as we're talking about this, I can actually see that.
It's a Mason. It's basically a Mason that wants to be seen on the porch of Masonry.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be seen on the front porch of the lodge room. They don't know anything about what they're.
Yeah. Well, I think okay. Well, that makes sense. I've always kind of linked.
They're sitting in the chair outside of the lodge, and they look like they're a Mason, but are they really? Because they never really took the journey inside.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we could talk about my interpretation after we go offline because
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I always also kind of interpret it like because there's references to porches in some of our degrees, right? And if you're a porch mason, that means you never got off the porch, you never progressed, you never studied like liberal arts or anything like that. Like you never got off the porch, kind of thing. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like there's a lot of porch masons, in that
it's the same concept.
Same concept, yeah. And I never liked it. I always thought it was stupid. But now as we're talking about it, I was like, man, that's probably actually pretty accurate. We have a lot of porch masons, but as soon as you get off the porch, you understand that there's a whole the porch goes into a rabbit hole, right? And
there's a book called The Porch in the Middle Chamber.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. The porch.
Yeah, I'm looking for it too now. Hang on.
I've got it. You ought to get it. There's a special way to read it though. When you get it, call me and let me know, and I'll tell you how to read it.
Okay. By Pike, right? Wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I have to get a copy of this. Nice.
Yeah, you'll like it.
Okay, I'm excited to read it now.
It's not available on Kindle. Dang it.
Oh, and you can't, and it wouldn't be much good on Kindle either, the way you have to read it.
I've got to have a physical copy. I'm a library guy. I like to have actual physical books.
Yeah, I have it. I have the hard copy version. Yeah, I'm the same way, and I have to have hard copy because I don't want it to get messed up sitting there leaned over like yours are in the background there.
Yeah. Well, most of them are hard copies, but also they're not full yet. The
but they won't get all bent up while they're leaning over like that either.
Yeah, I prefer hard copies. Okay, I'll be getting this soon. Nice, but yeah, I can see where that concept comes from, and it's not to belittle anybody. Like I've been a master mason I've been a mason for almost 18 years, and I probably spent 12 or 13 of those years on the porch. But
yes.
The point is you got to get off.
And I tell people the same thing. Yeah, I tell people the same thing. That I did do all the things that I discourage now.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I think Josh knew me during periods of doing the things that I discourage now.
Yeah.
And I'm a little embarrassed, but it was a period of growth. So, we all have our seasons, and now I'm in a different season.
Yeah. And I think that's important to point out when we come on the show and we're saying we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. That's not coming from like a high horse kind of thing.
It's not saying I hadn't.
Yeah, that's well, yeah. But to the point,
most of the stuff I warn you against is stuff that I've already done. So
yeah.
You can believe me. It's tried and true with me if I tell you.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Like we've done every worst practice out there.
Yeah.
And it was coming from best intentions, which I think most people are coming from best intentions, but it's also your product of your raising. You do what you're led to believe is normal by your lodge as you go through your degrees, and you don't know any better until you know better. And then you look back and think, that was terrible.
If I had never traveled, I would never know.
Yeah.
I would have still been in that same situation.
Yeah, that's part of my.
I think if you and I hadn't really gotten together, neither one of us would be where we are today. I don't think.
No. Our conversations have really set me down the esoteric road, and I always had a passing interest in it, but I never had anyone to really talk about it with. And so I would not be growing the way I am if we had not started our journey together on this.
Right. I feel the same.
You're welcome.
You complete me.
Oh, gee, Mini. My gosh. Y'all are killing me.
We have that effect on people. Man.
So we started out talking about being a civic group. And what's interesting is, with the event that I went to this weekend. Now, one thing that they do at every event, the Brothers of Latin America, they have a benevolence fund that they fund at every meeting, and so they pass a hat at every meeting, and it goes into a fund. And then if a brother passes away, then they have money to help that brother or the widow or whatever. And the Scottish Rite does that as well. And that was something that they mentioned in the deal, is that at every one of our get-togethers going forward, they would like to do that, to where we, whoever the host is, that Grandmaster picks a charity, and that everybody's going to contribute to it, and they're going to give to that charity or whatever. And which is okay with me, because we're not doing a fundraiser.
Yeah.
We're going in, and then we're pulling out of our pocket and giving to this benevolence fund
Mm-hmm.
out of our own pockets. It's not asking anybody else for money.
I mean, I like that.
Yeah. Well, and I like the way that the Scottish Rite says to do it too. They say, give as much as you would normally waste on yourself in a day. And I can easily say that I waste $20 on myself every day. Somehow, some way, whether it's eating out, the gas I waste going to whatever I'm going to, or, you start adding stuff up, and it adds up pretty quick. Some people, they'll put in $2 as if they're, St. Mary living in a convent. But the reality is that you buy one hamburger, and that's all wasted money.
Yeah.
So you ought to pony up. And so anyways, as a civic group, that's the mentality, is that you're always doing something like that. And I think that even with our now I got to try and finish my thought. Even with our best intentions, we still act like civic groups, because it is coming from us, yes, but we're doing the same thing as a civic group.
Yeah. But I like that idea. You find like a local nonprofit.
Definitely better than a fish fry.
No, I agree. Find a local nonprofit or charity, and just people, the brothers should, really, they should be bringing money anyway, because if they're going to eat, they should be throwing money in the kitty. But put some extra, and then at the end of the year, donate it to like the local food kitchen or whatever the worshipful master feels is important. And that's your, if you want to be charitable, there's your charity. You're taking money out of your pocket and putting it into that fund, and at the end of the year, it goes towards a local charity. Or if someone passes away and they need help.
Well, that's the thing. Benevolence is strictly for the fallen brothers and their widows and orphans. So that goes directly to them. So if there's anything that I want to give to, that's it. That I would rather give $20 at every lodge meeting to that, and have it add up through the year, and then help out a widow or something that needs a new ramp for her wheelchair or whatever every couple of years, or as opposed to doing a fundraiser so that I can give a kid $1,000 for a scholarship.
I like that a lot too. I definitely see the value. So,
but even with our best intentions, we still act like a civic group in some aspects. Now, if we keep it in house in the true form of benevolence like that, then that's less of like a civic. A civic group does it more for external purposes, whereas the benevolence is more of an internal.
Yeah,
that's how I justify it.
I can see that. I wonder what do you ever have the conversation with those guys, what they're charging for their dues over there in Mexico?
I hadn't talked to him. Oh, yes. Actually, yeah, we had that conversation too. And $400 was one of the numbers, not US dollars, but the equivalent of $400.
I see.
Was what one of the lodges was charging.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. In fact, they're in Latin America, they're not allowed to be a member of more than one lodge. And you can't have a plural membership with another grand jurisdiction either. Oh. So they can't join the US.
Interesting.
Unless they demit from their lodge in Mexico. And I wanted to join. Yeah, I was planning on joining the lodge in Quintana Roo. I can't because I'd have to demit from my lodges here in the U.S.
I don't see a problem with having memberships in other jurisdictions, but I think I would not be opposed to saying, hey, you can only have one lodge in Texas. Because a lot of this argument against higher dues is because these guys have 10 or 15 dues cards from different lodges in their pocket.
Right.
And really these are lodges that if they're traveling that distance to keep these lodges alive, then they probably need to be consolidated anyway and just charge higher dues at that lodge.
Man, I still feel like I would like to have my mother lodge, which is St. John's 51, and my whatever home lodge I have. If I was narrowed down, I would want it to be narrowed down to 2.
Yeah.
My mother lodge, and then whatever my home lodge is. If that's one and the same, then that ends up being one lodge.
Yeah.
But if I live somewhere else to where I can't go to my mother lodge. Another interesting thing, I can't remember if that was with them or if that was something that we used to do years ago, but they used to do it to where you could not visit a lodge more than so many times without becoming a member.
I think that's still in the law book somewhere.
Actually, we were talking about that earlier this week. I think it was like 2 or 3 times, and then you had to become a member.
Yeah, that's crazy. Which makes sense.
Well, yeah, if you just
that causes somebody to stop mooching off of their local lodge. If they move to an area, they need to move their membership and be active in that lodge.
Well, that's the other thing we were talking about too. Is then think about in District 36, how many lodges would District 36 and 34? How many lodges would fold if we all pulled our plural memberships?
Well, we got 3 too many, anyways. That's basically.
You were correct.
In fact, I was talking to one of our grand representatives or grand officers about that this weekend. That we just, it is what it is. Which I heard some interesting stuff too.
You always hear interesting stuff.
I do hear it. We'll talk about it after. We're done tonight.
Okay. I'm actually scanning through the law book real quick, see if I can find that.
Once we cut everybody else off this conversation, we can all talk about that. Brothers, that's the benefit of being an inner circle member, because we will cut you off, but we are not going to cut these guys off. We're going to have private conversations afterwards.
Yeah. We'll go into an executive session. No.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to executive session. We'll just call it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just one of the perks. I agree.
But service groups, I think there's a lot of value with the civic service groups. I think that we are a private, not-for-profit group, and we're not we are a fraternal organization. We're not supposed to be a service group.
Let me
So
read this.
while we do good things, that shouldn't be what we believe we are. Go ahead.
So Article 382 is titled Non-Affiliates. So what is a non-affiliated Mason, to be clear? Is that someone who has no lodge membership at all, but he's a Mason?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
someone who's not a member of any lodge. So if let's say your lodge demised, then you're a Mason in good standing with the Grand Lodge of Texas without a lodge.
Okay. So Article 382, this is probably the article I was thinking about. A non-affiliated Mason may not visit any lodge in this jurisdiction more than 3 times unless he shall petition a lodge for membership. If his petition is rejected, he may be allowed to visit lodges for 1 year thereafter, when he should again petition.
Nice.
And this is the 2023 version.
Nice.
What?
I said
I
nice.
I don't see a change in the 2024.
Yeah.
In the 2024. I'm reading it right meow.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's just saying if you don't have a home lodge, like you're not affiliated with a lodge, if you visit any lodge more than 3 times, you need to petition it.
Yeah, Grand Lodge does not collect dues, and so they can't collect per capita on you if you're not affiliated with a lodge.
Yeah. So no Ronins.
But I haven't decided which lodge I want to join yet.
Well, I don't think you can't go around. I don't think it's not saying you can't go around and visit other lodges. I think it's saying you can't visit the same lodge 3 times.
Right.
I mean, if your district has 9 lodges and you go over to every lodge, are they probably going to know that you've been to 3 of the lodges? I doubt that. And most of them probably aren't aware of that law anyway.
Right. And I'm having a hard time just figuring out A, where I'm going to wind up living, B, what lodges are going to be closest.
But you're affiliated. You have a lodge.
Yeah, I have a lodge. My mother lodge is Brady 628, and I'm endowed there. But they're not, nobody else is getting dues off of.
Well, let me know when you visit 92. I'll meet you there.
Okay, yeah, because actually I've been to 92 twice, and I like that bunch of guys. They're pretty cool, and I love their building. But there's still a bunch that I want to go to around here. Like I still haven't been to Gurley. I haven't been down to what's the name of the lodge in Lorena?
Gurley Lodge?
Yeah, I haven't been to Crawford yet.
It's Gurley?
The one that meets in the Scottish Rite building. J.H. Gurley? Gurley?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Gurley. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not.
Yeah,
But
that's, Dave McKim is the master of that lodge this year.
Right, and I visited at 92 last year a couple of times. I've been to one of the lodges in Belmead, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But yeah, there's still a bunch of visiting I need to do before I'm going to find a home lodge.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like I need to get my house bought first.
That's probably, you gotta eat the elephant one bite at a time, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Totally get it.
Yeah. Now there's some good lodges in the area.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of good lodges around here. Frankly,
Knob
that's
Creek,
part of the.
Knob Creek and Temple's got a good group of guys.
And seeing, I haven't even considered going down there yet because that's just going to be too far for me to run.
Oh, is it? That's actually where
yeah.
my grotto is. And it's like 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
It is what it is.
You're a dedicated man.
Well, I haven't. I'm thinking about maybe trying to go this month. That'd be bad. But yeah.
Trying to what?
Attend their what's it called? Their it's not a meeting. What's it called in Grotto?
Party? I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I was going to say soiree.
I've missed almost all of mine. So
yeah, same here. So I haven't even picked up my fez yet. So it's been like a year. I better.
But yours isn't in your hometown.
It's not.
Mine is 3,000 feet from my house, and I'm always gone. That Saturday, I'm always gone for whatever reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's a little harder to.
I'm always gone. I feel like such an ass, but but that's been my reality. Is that I just had other things going on every month on that weekend.
No judgment, man. No judgment.
Somebody
it's
on
a gaggle. It's a gaggle.
I was gonna say, somebody on this call, judging me. I guarantee.
All the time.
Yeah, see, I knew he would speak up eventually.
All right, guys.
I've just been quiet in the background listening to you two guys talk all night. I mean, that's fine with me.
Well, what do you got to say?
Yeah,
how is the Golden Trout? Talk about your Golden Trout for me.
Oh, can I talk now? The Golden Trout was amazing. It was fantastic. It was great. There was no garbage man there, but it's all right. No, we had a great time. We had a little over, right around 50 people, maybe a little bit over. Nice. So a lot of guys were there. We presented Brother Burris with his Golden Trout Award. I did, in fact, almost make him cry, but that's what he gets for telling me he wanted me to make it memorable, so that's what I did. Gave him his Golden.
How'd you do that?
Well, so he screwed up, and about a week and a half ago, when we got done with our Cuervo Lodge, he said, "Don't just read it out of the book. I want y'all to make it memorable." And I went, "Well, crap. That's what I was going to do. So I guess I need to change my stuff." So what we did is as most times when we give an award like this, the wife and spouse come up to the altar with him. And as some people may know, or some people don't, that his wife passed away back in February. And so what I did was I had a little blurb about, we wish Cheryl Lynn could be here. And then I said, well, the rest of Roy's family join him at the altar. And then we had everybody else stand behind him while he was getting presented his award. So everybody in the lodge stood behind him while he was getting it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We have some pictures of everybody standing up there. So yeah, we gave him his Golden Trowel stuff from Grand Lodge. We gave him a coin board, the kind of similar to the one that
like a shadow board.
made me. And so he's got a big board that he can put all of his challenge coins on now. Gave him a set of mini working tools that he probably doesn't remember that he picked out himself. When I asked him, "What do you think about this? Would this be good for the Golden Trowel recipient?" He goes, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." It's like, all right, done. There you go. Gave him that. Gave him my coin for my year in the East, along with some lapel pins. And then the other thing that was cool is on the board that everybody signed it. So everybody that was there was signed it. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool. The whole ceremony lasted about 30 minutes or so. But yeah, it was a good time. And then the after party ended with some, I'll say, driving down the road karaoke. How you usually driving down the road and sing along to a song while it's on the radio. Kind of did that similar thing last night. So, but yeah, no, it was a good time. We had a lot of brothers were there. A lot of the 2022 team was there. A lot of Grotto members were there. So yeah, it was a good time.
Good. Glad everybody showed up.
Yeah, you were sorely missed as usual, but we understand that you had other obligations. So
Yeah, but that's also why I wanted to do the video, and also so that other brothers from 2022 could jump on there and say something too. That I'm glad that they were able to help to be a part as well.
yeah, no, we had about 5 or 6 brothers sending the video, and Brother Huff showed up because he's down in Port A right now, so that was cool for him to come up. But the best video of the night was Carlton's. That man can make a whole room laugh, and he's not even sitting there.
I know it. I love it.
When we need to bring him on the show, we need to understand. We need to ask him why he thinks that Y stands for brains, because that's what he said in the video. So it'll be a interesting conversation.
Y stands for brains?
Yes.
Because my name starts with a Y. Why do you think?
No. You have to see his whole video that he sent in, and it's hilarious, and
I can't wait.
Yeah. So I mean, we can offline. I can share that with you guys, but it's pretty funny.
Well, let's wrap this up, and we can have our after hour talk, and then because I wanna hear some of that stuff Dennis was talking about, and it's getting late.
Okay.
Does that sound acceptable to everybody?
So
Sure.
Everybody, y'all go right ahead. I'll end it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Go.
I hope I wasn't interrupting. I actually don't have a whole lot to say tonight. I did see, or I did hear a lot of great stuff, especially about talking about the long-term benefits to the lodge for longer officers in places, and I think that's certainly something that could at least be explored informally at the local lodge level.
Most certainly.
And I certainly encourage brothers to do that kind of thing. But that's gonna take what I've got right there.
Okay, love it. Josh, Jeff, you got anything?
I don't have a whole lot. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. You go first, my friend.
Well, I was raised last week, but
Congratulations!
hey, thank you.
Awesome.
Outstanding.
I was gonna mention that. I was just waiting until we got to that point. Congratulations.
Yeah, I can finally stop fiddling with my apron. Trying to keep it in place.
Was it everything you were hoping for?
It was, and then I immediately traveled to Kentucky to see one of their third-degree conferrals, and that was a mind-blowing experience. I'll probably do that till we're off live. So
Very nice. Yes, I'd like to hear about that.
Most definitely. Cool, man. Josh?
I don't have anything really. Great conversation tonight I listened to. I just want to bring up that coming up on this coming Saturday, we will have Brother Rhett Moore in Goliad, Texas, and he'll be doing his letter presentation. So we're going to have that around lunchtime. We'll have lunch at noon, and then we'll do the presentation at 11. So if anybody is wants to come hear it or in the area, come on by. It's going to be an open meeting, so everybody is invited. But we're pretty excited for that. But yeah, we got a lot of good things going on in Goliad, so that's about it.
It's a great presentation. If you're in the area, you should definitely attend. It's well worth it.
Absolutely, for sure.
You get goosebumps listening to that letter. I'll just wrap up saying, first of all, thank y'all for coming tonight. Sorry we couldn't attend last week, but y'all provide great value to Masonic improvement and Texas Freemasonry, and by extension, all across the country with these conversations. Because it's not just Texas Masons that are listening. Most of them are, but it's not just Texas Masons. So you are contributing to those conversations, and I appreciate y'all. Other than that, I'll also say, I'll reinforce, Freemasonry is not a service organization. The members as members, we should be of service to our communities, in our families, and in every aspect of our life. We should be of service, but we are not a service organization. And by that same token, Freemasonry is not a charitable organization. we as Freemasons should be charitable. We should treat the lodge as a charity, meaning it should be the subject of our charity as well as our brothers. But the organization itself, the role it fills is not to be like this giant mechanism to import money to other people in the community. That's just the whole charity thing is kind of a big thing of mine. But the whole service organization thing also, Freemason, we should make our members, we should, as you grow as a man, let me start like this. As you grow as a man, you should naturally find yourself wanting to be of service. You should naturally find yourself wanting to help other people. And I think Freemasonry, one of the roles that it fills is it helps us develop into that kind of person. Helps us to grow as men. And so, yes, we should absolutely be charitable. We should absolutely be of service. Now, am I saying is it absolutely wrong for a lodge to engage in charity? No, I don't think so. But if that is all you do and if that is your primary focus, 12 months out of the year, that's what we're talking about, and you're not doing anything else, that's probably not the direction you want to go. So I'll just say that. Otherwise, we do have our dinner coming up pretty soon in January, and I'm sure Dennis will come out with more details on that. We'll be sending out information pretty soon also, and I'm sure Dennis has all. Dennis is the guy, but I'm just pointing it out. Like, we will be coming up with that soon, and I know we probably don't have information now because you just got back from Mexico. But my point is, keep an eye out for it because we will be having that discussion very soon about what it's going to look like. So, otherwise, like Dennis pointed out, like these guys here, this is the inner circle, and we're going to have a conversation after this, and it's inner circle only. And if you are listening and you want to be involved in these conversations, if you want to have a little behind the scenes conversations like we do sometimes, if you enjoy our content, you hate ads, these are all benefits of being inner circle. So I appreciate all of you for your support, and I always enjoy these conversations with you guys. So thanks again.
All right, my turn.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, thank you for calling me sir. It's about time.
It's an age thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But in all seriousness, I really enjoyed the show as well. I think that we can't point out enough that when someone asks us what we do as Masons, it's not the things. What we do as a Freemason, it is not the same thing as the end result that comes out of us becoming better as human beings. What we do as Masons is, number one, we make Masons. Number two, what is a Freemason? That's someone who educates themselves, and it's basically an opportunity for continuing education for the betterment of our mind and conscience, and your mind and conscience combined, creating your soul, right? So we're working on our souls through Freemasonry. That's what we do. Everything else that's an end result of that is exactly that. It's an end result. So our very first thing should be educating ourselves. That should be our very first thing. And it doesn't matter if we're educating ourselves how to be better at managing our finances, how to be better at managing our lodges, whatever it is. If it's for the betterment of our surroundings and who we are, then education is key. educating ourselves internally is the goal for every studious Freemason. And we have to remember that the roles have flipped over the years, whereas it used to be that only 5% of the brothers coming in were coming in for the esoteric nature of the craft. It's flipped to where now it's about 95% of young men coming in are for the esoteric nature. And it may not be in your little podunk lodge that's happening, but the reality is that as an collective, it is happening. So while we may be on an island in our little lodges, our whole world doesn't revolve around that little lodge. Freemasonry is much bigger than that. It's worldwide. There are grand jurisdictions out there that are showing increase in numbers currently. They're showing increase in membership currently because they've realized how important the education is. And they're starting to cater to the experience of the brother and not cater to the way that they've known it for the past 50 years through the heyday of everybody being joiners. And so while we sit on our laurels and think that we know all there is to know about Masonry, and we're pretty good at that here in Texas, thinking that we know it all and that we don't need to do any better. As long as we got our church, we got everything in control, then we're going to continue down the same path. But once we decide that we still have a long ways to go and that we need to continue learning, myself, Justin included, all of the brothers here, we all believe that we are still students. We're all going to be students of this thing called life until we're dead. And then we just take the next journey. So be studious, people. That's all I can really say. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm excited to hear about Jeff's adventure. Thank you, brothers. Keep it between the points.